I was sitting in the cafeteria, picking at a soggy slice of pizza, the kind they always served on Wednesdays. It was loud. Trays clattering, kids shouting over each other, the usual chaos of a California high school lunch period. The air smelled like grease and cheap ketchup, and sunlight streamed through the big windows, bouncing off the scratched-up tables. I'd done this 100 times. Same seat, same routine, same faces laughing and arguing around me. It felt safe, boring even. I remember thinking about how I'd rather be home, sprawled on the couch with my PlayStation, than stuck here waiting for the bell. My friends were joking about some dumb TikTok trend, and I half listened, smirking at their bad impressions. Everything was normal. Too normal, looking back. I didn't know it then, but that was the last time I'd ever feel that kind of careless ease in this place. The teacher on lunch duty, a wiry guy with glasses who always looked annoyed, grabbed the microphone from the corner of the room. His voice cut through the noise, sharp and shaky. "Everyone, be quiet, right now." The chatter died fast, like someone flipped a switch. I looked up, curious but not worried yet. He adjusted his glasses, cleared his throat, and said, "We're going into lockdown. This isn't a drill. Stay calm and stay quiet." My stomach did a little flip. Not fear, not yet, just confusion. We'd had drills every month. I figured this was just some overzealous practice run. But his face, it was pale, his hands trembling as he set the mic down. That's when I noticed the room, everyone frozen, eyes darting, waiting for someone to explain. I told myself it was nothing. Maybe a fight in the halls got out of hand. But deep down, a tiny voice whispered, "This feels wrong." The silence didn't last. A sound ripped through it. A loud, dry bang from somewhere across the school. My brain didn't register it as a gunshot at first. It could have been a door slamming or a desk falling over. But then I saw the faces around me. Wide eyes, mouths open, and I knew. My chest tightened, like someone had grabbed my lungs and squeezed. Kids started yelling, chairs scraping as they ducked or bolted upright. The teacher shouted, "Under the tables, now!" And I dropped, crawling beneath mine, my knees slamming into the cold tile. My friends were next to me, one of them breathing so fast I thought he'd pass out. I could still see the windows, the sunlight mocking us, and I wondered, is he out there? Is he coming here? My mind raced, stuck between disbelief and a growing dread I couldn't name. This wasn't supposed to happen. Not here. Not to us. Part 4. The shadow at the door. The teacher sprinted to the main doors, locking them with a loud click, then flipped off the lights. The room dimmed, shadows stretching across the floor. We huddled under the tables, a mess of whispers and muffled sobs. My hands shook as I gripped the table leg, my knuckles white. Time crawled. Every second felt like a lifetime, my heartbeat pounding in my ears. Then, across the cafeteria, a scream broke out, high and piercing. I peeked out and saw him, a figure outside the glass doors, tall and dark, holding something that glinted in the light. A gun. He raised it, and another bang shook the air. The glass didn't break, but it cracked, spiderwebbing under the shot. My stomach lurched, bile rising in my throat. Ting la het choi tai. I couldn't move, couldn't think. All I could see was that gun, that shadow, and all I could feel was this raw, animal panic clawing at me. He's gonna get in. He's gonna kill us. The side exit doors burst open. Someone must have unlocked them, and kids poured out, a flood of sneakers and backpacks spilling into the daylight. The teacher yelled, "Go, go," and I didn't think twice. I scrambled up, my legs shaky, and ran with the crowd. My friend grabbed my arm, pulling me toward the outside, and we stumbled over trays and chairs, the chaos swallowing us. Another shot rang out behind me, and I flinched, ducking low, expecting pain that never came. Outside, the air hit me, crisp and cold, and I kept running past the flagpole toward the front of the school. My house was close, just a few blocks, and that was all I could focus on. Get home, get safe. My mind was a blur, screaming at me to keep moving, but part of me kept replaying that figure at the door. I'd seen his outline, too real, too close, and it burned into me like a brand. I made it home, bursting through the front door, my chest heaving. My parents were there, Mom dropping a mug when she saw my face, Dad fumbling for the remote. "There was a shooting," I gasped, and they turned on the news. The screen showed our school, Police cars everywhere, that familiar red brick building now a crime scene. The anchor said a girl got hit in the leg, not dead, thank God, and they'd caught the guy, some kid with a gun, alive. I sank onto the couch, my hands still trembling, staring at the TV but not really seeing it. My parents asked questions, but I barely answered. All I could hear was that bang echoing in my skull over and over. I was safe, but I didn't feel it. My body was here, but my mind was still under that table, waiting for the glass to shatter. That night, I locked myself in my room, the blinds shut tight. I tried to sleep, but every creak of the house made me jump. Every shadow looked like him. I kept picturing the cafeteria, empty now, maybe, but stained with what happened. The news said he was a student, someone I might have passed in the halls, and that made it worse. Who was he? Why us? I didn't have answers, and the not knowing ate at me. Days turned into weeks, and I stopped going to school, couldn't face it. Couldn't walk those halls without feeling that sick twist in my gut. I'd survived, sure, but something in me didn't. Sometimes, late at night, I still hear that gunshot, sharp and sudden, like it's waiting for me to let my guard down. It's been months now, and they say it's over. But I wonder, how many others are out there, carrying that same quiet rage, ready to pull the trigger? I don't think I'll ever feel safe again. I wasn't a real teacher, not yet anyway. I was a substitute, bouncing between classrooms at a high school just outside Austin, Texas. It was one of those quiet, sprawling places where the biggest drama was usually a kid skipping class or a football game getting rained out. I liked subbing because it was easy, math was my thing, and most days I'd just follow someone else's lesson plan, scribble equations on the board, and coast through. That morning, I rolled up to the school in my beat-up sedan, grabbed the classroom keys from the front office, and headed downstairs to the math hallway. I had 4 classes lined up: geometry, algebra, the usual. Nothing special. The day felt routine, predictable, like I could do it with my eyes closed. But there was this tiny itch in the back of my mind, a whisper I couldn't shake. Today's different. I brushed it off, chalking it up to too much coffee or not enough sleep. The first 2 classes went fine. Rowdy kids, bored stares, a couple of half-hearted questions about factoring polynomials. By noon, I was done with them, and I had a long stretch before the next one. I stayed in the last classroom I'd taught in, a boxy little room with posters of triangles and pi plastered on the walls. It was empty for the next 2 periods, so I set up shop, laptop on the desk, a mix of grading papers, and scrolling through random websites. The hallway outside was dead silent, just the hum of the heater kicking on now and then. I liked it that way. Quiet meant no surprises, no chaos. Still, sitting there alone, I started overthinking. What if I'd missed something in the lesson plan? What if the front office forgot to tell me about a schedule change? My fingers tapped nervously on the desk, a habit I couldn't break when my brain got restless. Around mid-afternoon, the second bell rang, signaling period 6. Another class would take over this room soon, so I packed up and headed to the teacher's lounge, a tucked-away spot near the back of the school, right by an exit only staff could unlock with ID cards. I'd been there plenty of times. It was usually just me and a couple other subs sipping stale coffee. Today, it was empty. I dropped my bag on a table, sank into a chair, and opened my laptop again. That's when I heard it. Knock, knock. Soft, deliberate, coming from the back exit door. My head snapped up. No one used that door during school hours, not unless they had a reason. I told myself it was nothing. Maybe a janitor locked out or a teacher who'd forgotten their badge, but my gut twisted, a cold little knot forming. I stood, hesitating, then walked to the door, peering through the cloudy glass. There he was, a guy, maybe late 40s, with short gray hair and a button-down shirt tucked into khakis, a black jacket draped over his shoulders. He looked normal, like he belonged here. He saw me through the glass, flashed a smile, warm, easy, and waved me over. "Hey, I'm a teacher here," he called out, voice muffled but steady. "Forgot my ID today. Can you let me in?" I squinted at him, my hand hovering over the lock. Policy screamed in my head, no ID, no entry. But he seemed so sure of himself, so calm. I asked, "You work here?" He nodded. "Yeah, been here a while. Rough morning, that's all." I don't know why I did it. Maybe I didn't want to seem rude. Maybe I was just tired of second-guessing everything. But I turned the lock and pushed the door open. He thanked me, quick and polite, then brushed past me, his steps fast and purposeful. I caught a glimpse of his hand sliding into his jacket pocket, and that knot in my stomach tightened. He was heading straight for the math hallway. I stood there for a second, the door clicking shut behind me, replaying it in my head. Forgot my ID. Been here a while. Something about it didn't sit right. Why didn't he call the office? Why the rush? My legs moved before my brain caught up. I bolted back to the lounge, yanked my laptop open, and pulled up the staff directory. Every employee in the district was listed there, from principals to custodians. I typed his name, or what he'd said his name was, into the search bar. Nothing. I tried again, scrolling through every school, every department. Not a single match. My breath hitched. I'd let a stranger into the building. A liar. My hands shook as I grabbed my phone and dialed the front office. I think someone just got in, I stammered. He said he's a teacher, but he's not in the system. The secretary's voice sharpened. Stay where you are. We're locking down. The lockdown hit fast. Lights off, doors bolted, an automated alert blaring through every classroom. I stayed in the lounge, frozen, listening. Then it started. Bang, bang, bang. Loud, violent thuds echoing from the math hallway. My heart slammed against my chest. I crept to the lounge door, peeked out, and heard him. Screaming now, his voice raw and unhinged. Open the door! I know you're in there! Each word was a punch, each bang a crack in my skull. I edged closer, just enough to see down the hall. He was pounding on a classroom door, one I'd taught in that morning, kicking it like he wanted to tear it apart. My mind raced. Who was he after? Why that room? Then it hit me. The teacher I was subbing for. She'd called out sick all week, and he knew her. This wasn't random. I sank against the wall, legs weak, guilt crashing over me like a wave. I'd opened the door. I'd let this happen. Sirens wailed outside, red and blue lights flashing through the windows. Police swarmed the school, boots stomping down the halls, but I couldn't move. I just listened as his screams faded, swallowed by shouts and handcuffs. They got him, dragged him out before he could hurt anyone. Later, I heard the rumors. He was her ex, unhinged and armed, hunting her down for something she'd done to him. A gun in his pocket, they said, ready to end her and maybe himself. She'd been hiding somewhere, gone for months after that. No one died, no blood spilled, but it didn't matter. I'd unlocked the door. I'd let him walk right in. That night, I sat in my apartment, staring at the ceiling, replaying his smile, too smooth, too hollow. I prayed, thanking God it hadn't gone worse, but the thanks felt empty. 5 years on, I'm still teaching, still subbing sometimes. I double-check IDs now, every time, even when I know the face. But the what-ifs never leave me. What if he'd gotten in that room? What if I hadn't called? The guilt's a shadow, quiet but heavy, following me into every empty hallway. And every so often, when I'm alone, I swear I hear it. A faint knock, knock, like he's still out there, waiting for me to let him in again. You have experienced a different life, a phenomenon that you cannot explain. Why? If so, share your story in the comments section below, because someone out there has also experienced the same thing. Don't be afraid to like the video, subscribe to the channel, because the next story could be even more interesting. Share your story. It was a frigid Friday night in February 2025, and I was riding back from an athletics meeting that had dragged on too long. I'm one of 4 teachers on this creaky old-school bus. No kids this time. Just us and the driver, a guy who's been behind the wheel longer than I've been alive. The highway stretched out ahead, a lonely ribbon of asphalt cutting through empty fields. Out here, in the middle of nowhere, USA, you don't expect much, just the hum of the engine and the occasional flicker of headlights miles off. I was slouched in my seat near the window, my jacket pulled tight against the chill seeping through the glass. My mind was on a hot shower, a beer, maybe some TV to unwind. The others were chatting softly, their voices a low murmur against the quiet. It felt safe, routine, like nothing could touch us out here. But something about the night felt off. Maybe it was the way the darkness pressed against the windows, thick and heavy, like it was hiding something. I brushed it off. Exhaustion, I told myself. I'd been up since dawn, and my nerves were frayed. Still, I kept glancing outside, half expecting to see a shape in the shadows. We'd been rolling along for maybe 20 minutes when it happened. A loud bang jolted me upright, my hands gripping the seat. The bus swerved hard, tires screeching as the driver fought the wheel. I felt it, the sickening lurch as the front end dropped, the telltale hiss of a blown tire. We shuddered to a stop right there in the middle of the highway, stranded. My heart kicked up a notch, but I told myself it was nothing. A flat tire. Annoying, sure, but fixable. The driver muttered something about checking it and reached for the door handle. The others shifted in their seats, one cracking a joke about bad luck. I leaned toward the window, squinting into the dark. No cars, no lights, just an endless void beyond the faint glow of our headlights. My breath fogged the glass, and I wiped it away, trying to see what we'd hit. That's when the unease started creeping in, slow and cold, like water seeping through a crack. Out here, things don't just happen by chance. The driver stepped out, his boots crunching on the gravel shoulder. I watched him kneel by the wheel, his flashlight beam bouncing off the pavement. One of the others, a guy who's been teaching history forever, leaned over and said, "Probably just some junk on the road." His voice was steady, but I caught the flicker of doubt in his eyes. I didn't say anything, just kept staring outside. That's when I saw them, 3 shapes peeling out of the darkness, moving fast. My stomach dropped. They weren't good Samaritans coming to help. Not with the way they moved, purposeful and silent, like wolves closing in. I opened my mouth to warn the others, but the words stuck in my throat. Before I could blink, the bus door flew open, and they were inside. 2 with guns, one with a knife that glinted like a shard of ice. "Hands up!" One of them barked, his voice rough and jagged. My chest tightened and I froze, my mind screaming at me to do something, anything. But I couldn't move. The air turned thick with panic. One of the gunmen stormed toward the driver, who'd barely made it back inside, and slammed the butt of his pistol into his face. I heard the crack, saw the blood spill down his chin, dark and slick in the dim light. He grunted, collapsing against the steering wheel, and I felt my own face flush with heat, anger, fear. I couldn't tell. The other gunman shoved his way down the aisle, the barrel swinging toward us. "Phones, cash, jewelry, now!" he yelled. I fumbled with my pockets, my hands trembling so bad I could barely grip my phone. The teacher next to me, a woman who'd been laughing just minutes ago, was sobbing quietly, tugging off her earrings with shaky fingers. The guy with the knife stood by the door, his eyes darting outside like he was waiting for something. I kept my head down, but my mind was racing. Who were they? Why us? We weren't carrying anything valuable, just a bunch of tired teachers on a busted bus. The gun hovered inches from my face, and I felt it. The cold certainty that one wrong move could end me. My whole world shrank to that moment, to the metal gleaming in front of me, and the sour stench of sweat and fear filling the air. They worked fast, snatching everything we handed over. My phone, her earrings, the history guy's wallet with maybe $20 inside. The driver groaned, clutching his face, blood dripping through his fingers. I wanted to help him, to lunge at these bastards and make them pay, but the gun kept me pinned. My heart hammered so loud I thought they'd hear it, and every breath felt like it might be my last. I kept picturing it, the trigger pulling, the flash, the end. I'd never felt so small, so powerless. The woman beside me whispered, "Please, don't hurt us," her voice breaking, and the gunman just laughed, a short, ugly sound that made my skin crawl. Ting dovat, song röva tuinua, ting kui kung kuk ho huk will kak up. I glanced at the windows, hoping for headlights, a cop, anyone, but there was nothing, just us and them, locked in this nightmare. The knife guy shifted, muttering something to the others, and I caught the word go. They were leaving. Relief flickered in me, but it was drowned by dread. What if they changed their minds? What if they decided we weren't worth leaving alive? As quick as they'd come, they were gone. The gunman backed out, the knife guy last, and I heard their footsteps pounding the pavement, fading into the night. A car engine roared to life somewhere close, tires squealing, then nothing. Silence crashed in, heavy and suffocating. I sat there, hands still raised, afraid to move, like they might burst back in any second. The driver coughed, spitting blood onto the floor, and that snapped me out of it. I stumbled to him, my legs shaky, and pressed my sleeve against his face to stop the bleeding. "You okay?" I asked, my voice hoarse. He nodded, barely, his eyes glassy with pain. The woman was crying harder now, hugging herself, while the history guy stared at the empty aisle, his jaw tight. I looked out the window again. Still no one. We were alone, broken and robbed, with a dead tire and a busted driver. My mind spun with what-ifs. What if they'd shot us? What if they came back? I couldn't shake the image of that gun, the way it felt like it was staring right through me. It felt like hours before help came, though it was probably less. A tow truck rumbled up, its lights slicing through the dark, and the driver, a grizzled guy with a thick beard, let us borrow his phone. I called the cops, my voice flat as I explained what happened. They showed up soon after, asking questions, taking notes, but I could tell they didn't expect to catch anyone. "Probably long gone," one said, and I nodded, too tired to argue. We got patched up, towed back to town, but nothing felt right. I went home, locked my door, and sat on the couch, staring at the wall. The quiet was deafening now, worse than before. Days later, I'm still jumping at shadows, still hearing that laugh in my head. The cops haven't found them. Maybe they never will. I keep wondering why they picked us, what they saw in that beat-up bus that made us a target. I used to feel safe out here, in the wide-open nothing. Now every empty road feels like a trap, every dark corner a threat. I survived, we all did, but something broke that night, something I can't fix. And deep down, I know it's not over. They're still out there, waiting for the next one. Maybe me, maybe you. It's early fall, and I'm sitting in English class at this small suburban high school somewhere in the Midwest. The room smells like old books and chalk dust, the kind of place that feels safe, predictable. Sunlight streams through the window next to me, warming my arm as I scribble notes about the scarlet letter. I'm just another kid here. Quiet, good grades, the one who smiles at everyone but doesn't say much. My hair falls over my eyes sometimes, and I push it back, trying to focus. I like it here, in this little bubble where nothing ever happens. Today feels the same as always. The teacher's voice drones on, kids whisper about weekend plans, and I'm half listening, half daydreaming about the apple pie my mom's baking tonight. But then my hand starts to tremble. Just a little, like I'm cold, even though the room's warm. I grip my pencil tighter, telling myself it's nothing. I don't know when it starts, but suddenly there's this sound, like a breeze, but sharper, brushing against my ears. I glance at the window, thinking it's cracked open, but it's shut tight. The trembling in my hand gets worse, and my pencil slips, rolling off the desk with a loud clack. Everyone turns to look, and I mumble an apology, bending to pick it up. That's when I hear it clearer. A voice, faint and scratchy, like someone whispering my name from far away. My chest tightens. I sit up fast, scanning the room. No one's looking at me now. They're all back to their notes or doodling. But the whispering doesn't stop. It's inside my head, I think. Or maybe behind me. I twist around, nothing but the bulletin board with its faded flyers. My heart's beating too fast, and I try to breathe, try to laugh it off. It's just my imagination, right? I've been reading too many creepy stories late at night. The whispering grows louder, sharper, like nails tapping glass. I can't make out the words, but it's angry, insistent. My hands shoot up to my head, pressing against my temples, because it feels like something's clawing inside my skull. I stand up, don't even realize I'm doing it until my chair crashes back, slamming into the floor. A scream rips out of me, raw and wild, and I don't know why. It's not me screaming, it can't be. My legs shake, and I stumble, grabbing the desk to stay upright. Everyone's staring now, wide-eyed, mouths open. I see them, but they're blurry, like I'm underwater. The room spins and I swing my head around, looking for whatever's chasing me, because that's what it feels like. Something's right behind me, breathing down my neck. I claw at my arms, my nails digging in, trying to feel something real, something that's mine. But my body doesn't listen. It's moving on its own. I'm yelling now, words I don't understand, deep and guttural, like they're being dragged out of me. My voice isn't mine anymore. It's too low, too rough, like it belongs to someone older, someone furious. The teacher rushes over, her hands grabbing my shoulders, shouting my name, or what she thinks is my name, but I don't know her. I don't know anyone. The faces around me twist into shapes I can't recognize, like masks melting in the heat. I thrash against her grip, my arms flailing, hitting the desk, the wall. Inside, I'm screaming for it to stop, begging myself to wake up, but I'm trapped, watching from somewhere deep down as this thing takes over. I feel it, cold, heavy, sliding through my veins like oil. It laughs in my head, a sound that makes my stomach churn. My hands claw at my face now, leaving hot, wet streaks I know are blood. Someone's praying, soft, shaky voices cutting through the chaos, and it only makes the thing angrier. I collapse to my knees, still fighting, still losing. I don't remember passing out, but when I come to, I'm on the floor, my cheek pressed against the cold tile. My body aches, like I've been running for miles, and my arms sting where I scratch them raw. The room's quiet now, too quiet, just the sound of my own shallow breaths. They tell me later that I stopped moving all at once, just dropped like a puppet with cut strings. The teacher's hovering nearby, her face pale, asking if I'm okay, but I can't answer. My throat's sore, my mouth tastes like metal. They call my parents, then an ambulance, but it's not a hospital they take me to. It's a monastery a few towns over. Days blur there, full of prayers and incense and people in robes watching me like I might break again. They say I'm better now, that whatever it was is gone. I go back to school eventually, sit in that same classroom, but I keep my head down. The whispering's still there sometimes, faint, like a radio signal fading in and out. I don't tell anyone. I'm scared it's waiting, biding its time. Every night I lie awake, wondering if I'm still me or if I ever was. You have experienced a different life, a phenomenon that you cannot explain. Why? If so, share your story in the comments section below, because someone out there has also experienced the same thing. Don't be afraid to like the video, subscribe to the channel, because the next story could be even more interesting. Share your story.